Hi, and good afternoon, and welcome to this Action Workshop. I'm Claire Pearce, and I'm your host for this session. And I work as part of the Sustainability Hub Low Carbon Devon team here at the university. It's an ERDF-funded project, and it's designed to support Devon companies on their journey to low carbon. For this session, we have Chris Woodfield, who works with me on the Low Carbon Devon project, and he'll be introducing two fully funded ways in which Devon enterprises can get practical support to support them on their low carbon or net zero carbon journey. And also we have two special guest speakers, Tina Joshi and Tristan Williams, who Chris will introduce a little bit later. So as with all the sessions, whilst Chris, Tina and Tristan are all talking, please put your comments in the discussion board and also any questions which we will raise towards the end of the session. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Claire. Thanks for having me. And yeah, welcome everyone. Really excited to be here and talk to you about the Low Carbon Devon project and how we can support you in taking action on climate change. Is the screen shared okay?
Absolutely, that's great.
Awesome. So as Claire says, we're going to be talking about particularly two ways in which the Low Carbon Devon project can support you if you're a local Devon enterprise, or if you're an academic here at the university, or if you're generally an interested individual listening. We're going to, over the course of the next hour, I'm going to talk to you about what we get up to and how we can help. So we are based here at the university at the Sustainable Earth Institute. So we're one project within the SEI, and it would be great to welcome you to our beautiful building sometime in the future. But for now, we're communicating like this, which is a great substitute. But sometime it would be great to invite you and chat and meet in person. These are my details. Feel free to contact me. I'll put these up at the end as well. And I'd love to continue the conversation. But for now, I'm going to dive in and talk to you about the Low Carbon Devon Future Shift Internship Program, Internship and Leadership Program to start us off. And then I'm going to talk about the Devon Net Zero Innovation Grants opportunity that we have, which is being launched shortly. And then we're going to have a discussion to showcase what a sort of academic industry collaboration is all about, to give you a sort of live practical example of how that might look in practice. So we've got Dr. Tina Joshi from the university, the School of Biomedical Sciences, having a conversation with Tristan Williams. So that's going to be shortly, but I'll kick off in talking about the internships. But first of all, I just wanted to put this picture up because this is an amazing image. It's called Earthrise. I'm sure lots of you might have seen this before. This is the first time a photograph has been taken of the Earth from space. So I think it was 1968, Apollo 8. And I just thought I'd put this in to start us off because the astronauts that took this photo had a really profound impact when they returned to Earth. And since then, there's something been called the overview effect, which is a sort of profound shift in awareness that astronauts have from going up into space and coming back to Earth and realizing how beautiful the Earth is, but realizing how fragile it is and what we need to do to keep it livable and to keep it thriving. And that's really part of the approach I'm trying to bring to this project around facilitating not just a shift in awareness, but a shift in we need to take action now, but action which is thought-provoking, meaningful, and facilitates positive change. And that's what we're trying to do here at the Low Carbon Devon project, is highlighting that zero carbon, environmentally just, socially just, and more positive, more practical and more exciting low carbon future is achievable, and we can do it by working together. And that's collaboration is key to our work here at Low Carbon Devon. So just want to set the scene very briefly around why the time for climate action is now. You know, we are in an emergency. Businesses, councils, local authorities are declaring a climate emergency in this sort of race to net zero. There's various movements. This is the Business Declares movement. If you're a business or an enterprise listening, I do recommend signing up to this. There's a whole host of stuff now coming out around how we can facilitate action on climate change. The SME Climate Hub is another useful resource for local enterprises. And this all goes hand in hand with the Sustainable Development Goals. And obviously climate action, number 13 there, specifically outlines action on climate change, but it goes hand in hand with all of the 17 goals. And one of the other speakers, I think, John Elkington, mentioned around the recent court hearing that sort of ordered Shell to take action on climate change by reducing their emissions by 45% by 2030. And I think that was one of the first times, or maybe even the first time, that a large company has been actually held accountable to the Paris Agreement. So the momentum is building. The time really is now, and change is happening. And we need to keep that momentum building. I mean, here in the UK, this is a press release from just a couple of weeks ago, highlighting that a third of all biggest companies in the UK commit to signing up to the Race to Zero campaign. Now, wouldn't it be amazing if all of those companies were doing that? And there's a specific call in how small businesses can be part of that change as well. And I really wanted to just set the scene by emphasizing that the momentum is building and we can really catalyze on that action. But how can we actually help? What does it look like? What are we here to do? The Low Carbon Devon project has a number of areas of support. The first of which I'm going to highlight just briefly is research collaborations. So a number of my colleagues listed there, who you may have seen throughout the conference. They've been presenting and they've been around over these 2 days, are working on those 4 specific areas. And we can work with local Devon SMEs if they have ideas, if they have solutions, if they would like advice and support around these 4 particular areas. We can connect you up with our team in a series of academic support through timed research collaboration. So it's from a minimum of sort of 12 hours collaboration up to 40 hours or more around support and connection and collaboration through those 4 particular areas. So if that lights something in you and you want to know more, then do get in touch with me or do get in touch with them directly. You can find them on the Spot Me speaker profile or the People platform and connect with those. I also want to talk about the Low Carbon Devon internships. So we have a program here called Future Shift, Low Carbon Devon Internship and Leadership Program. This is a unique and exciting opportunity for students and graduates at the University of Plymouth to connect up with local Devon-based enterprises for a 3-month fully funded internship. So we can place a current student or recent graduate within your enterprise to help you work on a low carbon project. And it's run in a series of cohorts. So we've just launched it recently at the start of June, but we have another cohort coming up in October and then 2 next year as well. So if you're listening and thinking, actually, that would be really helpful for me, or you know someone, or you've got a connection with a local Devon enterprise and you think this could be really valuable, then do connect up with me. As I said, it's around to support SMEs to work on a project or to develop a new idea, to develop a new product or service is a particularly important point for us, focused on that innovation. And as well as that, whilst the interns are on their 3-month work experience or 3-month internship, paid internship, we're going to facilitate a series of change leadership workshops because we recognize that there's also a gap in the leadership. We need to develop this future fit leadership where our students can become active change makers within their work and within their communities. So it's this practical, real life project combined with leadership development. And that leadership development is really around a holistic and inclusive and exciting and regenerative leadership. And it's framed around something called the Plymouth Compass, which has been developed here at the University of Plymouth over the past couple of years. And it has these 4 key critical areas, which have been highlighted as a holistic leadership approach. And each of the workshops that we're going to be exploring on the internship program are framed against one area of the compass. So it's this holistic approach to personal and professional development, so we can facilitate our students and graduates to become future fit leaders. Just to give you an example of the internships happening now. So on the screen are some of the organizations we're collaborating with who are hosting an intern and the types of projects that they're working on. And as you can see, there's a mixture there, from communications to data to environmental management. And we're very keen for that interdisciplinary approach and having a variety of skill sets and knowledge come together to learn not just from each other, but with each other. So I'm actively looking for internships at the moment, for intern hosts, that is, for the next round in October. So if you're listening, and like I said earlier, if you know of a Devon SME who could benefit from an internship, like I said, we can fund the salary of the intern. So could this be you? Do you know someone? Could you pass this message on? I'm really keen to get a broad mixture of Devon-based companies, and ones that could really do with the support, and ones that aren't engaging with us already. So do put the message out there, do connect me, or do put them in touch. Really keen, like I said, for this to be a wide-reaching program, not just here in Plymouth, but across Devon as well, and to try and reach those communities that we might not be meeting. So there's where you can find out more information. But the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was there's the new project just to be launched here within the Low Carbon Devon team. It's the Devon Net Zero Innovation Grants, which are focused on collaboration, research, and development. And I'm really excited to say that we're going to be launching these in the next couple of weeks. And they are grants of around 7,500 for local enterprises to collaborate with academics here at the university. So I mentioned my colleagues earlier in terms of the research collaborations and the 4 areas that we're focusing on within the project, but this is outside of that. So it's if you've got an idea to work on something which isn't related to those 4 areas, we can connect you up with an academic across the university, and we can offer this grant support to essentially buy out their time to collaborate and to provide support in new product or new service development. So again, it's focused on that innovation, hence the name, Devon Net Zero Innovation Grants. And it's, all focused around research, collaboration, and innovation. So we're launching these in the next couple of weeks, where they'll go live, and you can register your interest with us over the next couple of weeks and over the summer. And we're putting together an information pack that we can send out to you in more details of what's involved. But for now, if you want to get in touch with me or the team, this is our team email address to register your interest. Please do. Or if you've got any questions around this, please put them in the chat now, or get in touch with us later. We will be holding an information event in September, 22nd of September. We'll be explaining more information, and that's a chance to gain a more insight into the program. But before then, don't hesitate to get in touch as well, because we're really keen, again, for this mechanism of support to reach those that can really benefit, and it will really provide some value to your project. So if you've got an idea and you need that little bit of support, you need that advice, you need that collaboration, this is what the project is all about. So that's the Devon Net Zero Innovation Grants, as well as the internships, which I mentioned earlier. What I'm going to do now is invite Dr. Tina Joshi and Tristan Williams up to showcase what they've been up to give you an example of an academic and industry collaboration. So what I'll do is hand over to Tina, if you're there. Yep. Welcome,
Hi.
Tina.
Thank you so much for inviting us. It's really great to be able to demonstrate what we've achieved through our academic and business partnership. I think it was about 2 years ago, Tristan, that FinCEN approached me to do some really interesting research, very in vogue now, of course, with COVID-19, about disinfection, and they had a novel device for disinfection. So we moved forward with that, and we ended up collaborating, getting some industrial contacts together, and contracts, and then we ended up managing to get the R&D Solutions Fund. And that has been very useful for Tristan. So I'll let you crack on, Tristan, and let everyone know about how we helped you with your innovation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Chris. So let me start from the beginning briefly, just to set the tone. Now, FinCEN are a company that specializes in UVC disinfection. And UVC disinfection, for those of you that don't know, is just it's using light at a specific wavelength to destroy microorganisms, pathogens, viruses, and so on and so forth. And I'm very, very passionate about it. And, I spend a huge amount of time and effort to build and design these systems. And I was sat at home one night, and I live in Devon, which is a great place to live. And I saw a fantastic news article which featured Dr. Joshi. And she was talking about C. diff, and it was on the wonderful Spotlight. And it was exactly what I was thinking about, the dangers of C. diff and tolerance to chlorine and the new methodologies needed. So I wrote to Tina through the UOP website, and we started a conversation back and forth. And I'm very, very lucky, in all honesty, because to find someone in the local area that is as passionate as Tina about this particular subject, with the abilities and skills that she has, it's a huge phenomenon for me, and it enables me to act or collaborate locally but act globally. So we started doing sort of different research products because we were developing a new product that we wanted to have tested, and Tina did some really in-depth testing, and we're finding some fantastic results. And by using an academic partnership rather than an industrial laboratory, we were able to access technologies that we never thought were possible, such as scanning electron microscopy and things like that. So we have some really fascinating findings, and it's the best part about the collaboration is, I have regular calls with Tina, and we just discuss things. And because Tina has a different perspective to me, and I have a different perspective to Tina, but we find the mutual grounds where we think there's real room for research and real room for development, and it's all about life-saving technologies. But obviously, in the context of this particular conference, one of the biggest aspects of UVC is how environmentally friendly it is as well. It doesn't require a supply chain, it doesn't require any drainage or water or anything like that. It's a dry process. So, moving forward, I'm looking forward to working with Tina. She's incredibly enthusiastic. The University of Plymouth has been excellent to work with. The capacity, the capabilities of the UOP, in my opinion, are second to none. And we've been able to access information and research that we never thought would be possible. I'll be quiet now, sorry.
Thanks so much, Tristan. I think from an academic point of view, we've been really fortunate to be able to work with Tristan and the company, of course, in the laboratory and do some really cutting edge research. And from my perspective, that's something I've always wanted to do. It's completely novel, and we're making a real active contribution to the research area. So from that perspective, it's been fantastic. We're innovating, we've got new ideas, and those conversations that we have are really leading to new developments. And that's something that's quite tangible. It's not something that's in the ether. And again, these supporting funds like the R&D Solutions Fund help all of these things manifest. And we've got data now that we're able to publish, and it's going to be highly impactful in our research area.
Yeah, it sounds great. It'd be great to delve into that a bit more, because I think if there's any academics watching, Tina, I don't know if you've got any sort of words of wisdom or some advice around, one of the things I come up sometimes is, academics or staff members in general are being asked to do lots of other things that are sort of extra. But I get the impression that this really sort of complements what you're doing already, and it's sort of a collaboration which seems to be really meaningful. I don't know if you could expand on that.
Yeah, I think perhaps it might be a novel idea to some academics, but public engagement, I don't know if all academics agree, public engagement and actually being integrally part of the community outside of the university, interacting with industry, interacting with media is incredibly important because it raises opportunities and opens doors that would not normally open to you. So if I hadn't gone on Spotlight, Tristan would never have seen me. And this project would never have got to the point where it's got to, where we're actually making meaningful impact. And that's just a key example of some of the extra things that we're asked to do as academics. We don't tend to have time a lot of the time, but to make that little bit of effort, it really is beneficial to your career. I do a lot of public engagement now, a lot of media. And the thing is, it's only benefited my career and only benefited my lab and my research. It has not been of any detriment, except it's taken quite a bit of time. So I'd recommend it to anyone. PR is integral to being an academic, and that's something I'm incredibly passionate about.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's great to hear. I think, that's part of the university's overall strategy around sort of civic engagement, and it should just be the norm, really. I don't know, Tristan, in terms of, you've mentioned some key benefits already, but are there things that shine out to you in terms of the impact you've been able to have, or the critical benefits?
Yeah, I think in all honesty, the biggest benefit is if you think about technology life cycle. So, for example, if you go from the point of the inception of the idea, and then you can work on the science. So I'm able to work on the science with Tina, and then we can work together on I build the product, and then we test it together. So you get the science and the product solid, and you have a really solid foundation to build on. And then you're able to begin to look at and influence the policy, which obviously enables the technology to be deployed. And then you can actually use that. And the ultimate goal, if you're involved in infection prevention and control, as we are, is to make a difference, is to help people, is to protect people. People that are, suffering from really badly from MRSA, from C. diff infections, Candida auris, Candida albicans. These are, in my eyes anyway, and I'm sure they are in Tina's, but I don't want to put words in her mouth just yet. But to me, those are it's unnecessary suffering. It is preventable conditions that can be used. You can use technology to prevent those conditions occurring, and without having to revert to medications that we have a dwindling stock of or dwindling combinations of. So to me, it's about that ability to build that solid foundation, to influence policy, and then to help society. And working with Tina gives me the ability to build that foundation. And in all honesty, I don't think I would be able to build it anywhere near as solidly as I have been able to in conjunction with Tina.
Yeah, that's great to hear.
Yeah, you can see how that can be modelled with the Low Carbon Devon. I mean, that kind of academic relationship, it's just so beneficial because it can change policy and the impacts of what you do in terms of research and the relationship that you have with the industries that you work with. So I'm working with Tristan, and I work with several other companies as well. Your reputation builds with the more companies that you work with, as well as an academic, and that's really integral and important because, again, that's raising your profile. But it's also increasing your lab capacity as an academic too, depending on what type of research you do. That's important to me anyway, but it's also important to increase the ability and I suppose really the opportunities for my employees and my PhD students and the students within my laboratory. So it's contributing much more down the line to career development as well. There's quite a few things that this industrial partnership is touching upon. And I would say it's really, really beneficial to take the time to reach out to industry, build those relationships and cement those relationships. That trust that we have with Tristan and with Vincent, it's fantastic because we know that the innovations that we have are really going to have that impact. And there's no subtext there. There really is genuine impact and real great scientific publications that are influencing not only the UK, but globally. It's global impact.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. But I mean, touching upon your point there, Tina, about PR, I mean, from an industry perspective, as an industry employee, I completely agree with you. If you're an academic watching this live stream, I encourage you, don't break down those barriers between academia and industry. And the more mesh that you get with the industry, specifically in your, your focus area or your area of interest or skill set, it can make enormous differences, and it's a mutual benefit. It's a mutual beneficial relationship. And exactly as Tina says, don't be afraid to go for the PR, advertise yourself, show your skills. There's in all honesty, a massive absence of a lot of quality television at the moment. So go out there and make some, would be my suggestion.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's not something, maybe Tina, maybe you could shine a bit of a light on this. Is it something that I think maybe we need to provide some sort of training for academic staff in terms of this public engagement? Because maybe it's not what they're used to. I mean, you seem very confident and happy doing things like this, but I think in terms of your peers or colleagues, is that something that other people are doing as well around you? Or
I think the university's got a system in place and they're implementing that, and there are several courses on media. The university's become very engaged with public engagement of late, and we've got a public engagement officer now who's going to be taking up that mantle, and I would encourage every academic to approach her through the appropriate channels to be able to highlight yourself. I think some academics might have a problem with just blowing their own trumpet. There's nothing wrong with that. If you're good at something, you academic, it's your area of expertise. Advertise your expertise. You do not know who's going to be out there who wants a bit of your expertise. And I think it is that case of perhaps being embarrassed about being so upfront about your skill set. I think it might be a bit of a British thing, actually. I don't know, because I know in other countries, a lot of academics, Americans, for example, straight out there will talk to the companies, will do that type of interaction and really be confident about approaching and networking. And networking is integral.
Yeah. Industry will have no problem if you're talking very frankly about your skill sets and about what you can do, what you love to do. We really relish that transparency. I mean, the other thing I would say as well is, if you're looking to reach out into PR, the fantastic opportunity you have is your area of interest is likely to be your passion. And it's your passion and drive that will make you a fantastic source of information or brilliant on TV. The passion and drive comes through. And, that's your expertise, that's your skill set, your area of interest, and let it shine.
Yeah, exactly. No, thanks, Tristan. It's really great to hear how it's gone. I mean, it would be great if there were more opportunities like this. I mean, you mentioned the fund, the R&D fund, the solutions fund. Are you that's another area of support here at the university, as well as the Low Carbon Devon project, and there are many others. Are you continuing your work, your relationship, following on from that fund?
Certainly.
Absolutely, yes. Oh, we both answered at the same time. But there you go. There's collaboration for you. No, the beauty of a grant is, obviously when you're working in industry and you're working on a product development cycle, normally, you're stage by stage by stage, and then you're looking to introduce, version 1, version 2, and you backfill the funding from funds from V1 and everything like that. And what that grant enabled us to do is to look at everything in exactly the first place. So it enabled us to really push forward for that solid foundation of evidence, because what we've been working on, I won't go into details, but it really is quite groundbreaking technology. It's levels of performance that we haven't seen before, and it has wide-reaching implications. So it really enabled us, and it was relevant to COVID-19 as well, to really push forward and find out exactly what was going on. And it's important to have that information, because there is a lot of confusion in the marketplace right now, and you see a lot of devices that saying they can get rid of this and get rid of that, and with very little scientific validation. In fact, if you look at the BBC website, they've just pulled several large contracts from companies that weren't able to validate their scientific claims. We at Vincent Tech, we don't release anything until we've been able to fully validate it. And being able to work with Tina and using the grant and being able to respond to the market demands has enabled us to build a really solid foundation for this product.
Yeah.
So I think as an academic as well, I mean, approaching an academic is really beneficial, because as experts in the area, we tend to look at the key questions and the key potential holes in any technology and trying to ensure that there are no holes in that. So that's what we did, really. And fortunately, there were no holes in Vincent's technology, which is fantastic. But we have the right questions that we can answer through our expertise, and that's the critical thing that we have.
Well, the level of relationship we have is that, if Tina says to me, no, I listen and I pay attention and I trust her judgment, I trust her skills. To have that mutual trust, even though I know my product, doesn't mean I know everything about it. And, you know, to have that level of mutual trust, and industry's a fool if it doesn't listen when someone in academia who knows what they're talking about says, that's not quite right. And it's as valuable to say no as it is to say yes when you're talking about progressing R&D.
Definitely. I'm looking at some of the questions on the side. I think one of the questions was, are you going to use this initial collaboration to apply for the funding? So we're thinking about that at the moment and thinking about where best to look. We've been looking at KTP options, PhD options, and all of those are on the table for us to move forward with, which has been really exciting.
Yeah, so it's really the sort of start of the collaboration, which like you said, can lead to lots of other exciting things. I guess it can lead to opportunities, like you mentioned, within your actual teaching as well as other future funding opportunities, which sounds great. I mean, in terms of Low Carbon Devon, it would be great to be able to offer more of these similarly, but I think, you know, maybe just to sum up, if we could maybe just hear a few final thoughts or a few bits of advice from each of you around the collaboration, and if you could summarize it, maybe Tristan, we could start with you.
Yeah, well, to be entirely honest with you, and I'm not speaking from an industry or an academic perspective, but just in a general perspective here, the most important thing is to ensure that you fit with your collaborators, to make sure that you have the right level of relationship. If one person's too dominant and one person is too, you know, too much of a shrinking violet, then that unstabilizes the relationship. Balance is key in a collaboration, and as much as honesty and transparency is as well. And you've got to make sure that you feel comfortable with working with that person, because from an industry perspective, I'm revealing new and innovative ideas, and from an academic perspective, Tina's giving me real insights into where we can go and advice on what maybe we should do. So you've got to make sure the fit's right. And if you feel uncomfortable about something, then review it, ask it, discuss it. And if you can't rationalize it out, maybe that partnership's not the right fit. But if it's not, don't be discouraged. Go and find the right partnership for you. But it's got to work, and it's got to work from day one.
And I'll echo that sentiment. I think, you know, if you're an academic and you're not sure about how to network, increase your networks, try to reach out to these companies. A lot of the time we will get something back, and the rewards are fantastic in terms of publication and the KPIs that we need to deliver to the university.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really nicely put. Yeah, thank you so much. And I think that's what we're exploring here within the project as well, whether we can facilitate some networks and some events where people can come to meet each other, they can have a chat, we can put some ideas on the table, and it's something we're definitely looking at, so we can connect up interested academics with interested industry partners, so we can really facilitate that exchange. And like you said, if the fit isn't quite right, then there's loads of other opportunities out there as well. You know, I think we're really lucky here in the local area that there's so much going on, and there's so much exciting happening within this space. So yeah, really, really great to chat to you both. And yeah, maybe just a final sort of maybe 3 words about, you know, the theme of this conference. I always like to give a little challenge towards the end, is around the race to net zero and climate change and climate action. Maybe just to hear from you, 3 words of advice to anyone watching around taking action locally or globally.
Okay, do you want me to go first, or Tina, would you like to go first?
Oh, crikey, I'm trying to think. So I come from a medical perspective constantly, which is really difficult because, you know, for me, I think climate change is completely linked to AMR, antimicrobial resistance. And I think we need to start bringing these global challenges together to truly tackle their effects. And the effects are just profound. And I don't really think we've really got to the point where we are making that effort. So this conference is incredibly important. That was longer than 3 words, sorry.
That's cool,
I would
thanks.
simply, the only thing I would add from my perspective would be to anybody watching this, whether you're an academic or a passionate environmentalist or whatever you are, is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to reach out to industry. And also, if anyone from industry is watching, don't be afraid to reach into academia, because if you really want to take groundbreaking ideas forward quickly, that symbiotic relationship is absolutely intrinsic to getting a product, an idea, an innovation out into the marketplace as quickly as possible, where it can make the most difference.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Tristan. And again, thanks, Tina. I'm going to just continue with a few more points around the Low Carbon Devon project before we sort of wrap up. But yeah, really great to have you with us. We've still got a bit of time, so if anyone's got any questions for Tina or Tristan, we can bring them back in about 10 minutes. I was just going to sum up what the Low Carbon Devon project can offer over the next 10 minutes. So bye for now. I'm going to just continue to share my screen if that will come through all right. To stop me if it's not working properly. Hopefully you can see the slides going through okay. I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah, all good, Chris.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, thanks to Tina and to Tristan. I just wanted to sum up and say I've mentioned a few things around Low Carbon Devon, around our research collaborations, around our internship and leadership opportunity, and around the Devon Net Zero Innovation Grants. Something else we're deeply exploring is around facilitating a series of sort of exciting events and hands-on workshops, which are in development, and we've held a few already. So that's another area where we can showcase what's going on, but also sort of bring attention to the change that we need to see in terms of climate action. So we've put together a series of events called System Shift to highlight that sort of focus on systems change, but also action. And we've just launched a new webpage where our events are going to be hosted, because really we recognize that we need to drive systems change, but we also need to tell a different story. We need to change maybe the narrative. We need to bring people together. We need to be a bit more inclusive and collaborative. And we need to showcase that sort of positive vision that I mentioned at the start. And we have a series of Inspire Ambition events coming up, which we've planned throughout the year. And these are a series of events to bring people together, to explore that bold and ambitious change that we need, to explore the sort of speed and scale of change that we need, but are focused on particular areas of interest. So we've got an event coming up in a few weeks around purposeful business, around what does purposeful business mean? What does it look like? What does it feel like? And explore that with some local guest speakers and some local companies. And that's an open invite to everyone. And then throughout the year, we're going to have a bit of a break in the summer, but then kick it off again in September, looking at the B Corp movement and bringing in some local B Corps to chat around what that means to them and why it's important. And then moving on from that, we're going to host an event around leadership, which fits in with the Low Carbon Devon project. And then the Sustainable Development Goals as well. In the middle of that, we haven't got an event in November because of the COP, Convention of Parties, COP26, which is happening. So there'll be lots happening in November anyway, which we're going to be a part of and involved in. But that's our Inspire Ambition events. And I'm really keen to hear from anyone if they've got ideas for events that you want to work together on, or you want us to showcase, or you want to collaborate with. Really keen to continue to discuss. As well as that, we're going to be doing some practical workshops. So those events I've just mentioned are around exploring that bigger picture, larger scale systems change, as well as being thought-provoking and bringing in people working on different aspects to sort of have that inspiring conversation that can generate ideas and generate that sense of imagination, but also that sense of inspiration. And then we're going to take that through into practical hands-on workshops. So we also recognize the need to take action. So it's combining that exploration with action. So we'll be delivering a series of hands-on, practical, solutions-focused workshops. So we're going to be taking some businesses through the B Corp process, which we're planning for the autumn, around October, November time. And then we're also looking at delivering some carbon footprinting workshops with local partners. So you may have been to the Southwest Manufacturing Advisory Services carbon footprinting workshop yesterday, I think it was. We're going to be partnering up with them to deliver some carbon footprinting events, as well as looking at life cycle assessments. And I mentioned the Sustainable Development Goals before, but also not just what they are, but how can we take action on them? So that really is a key component of Low Carbon Devon, the sense of exploring what we need to do and why we need to do it, but also how can we actually do it practically and locally, which fits in with the whole theme of the project. So I mentioned the Purposeful Business event, but we also have another event coming up led by my colleague, Emma Whittaker, the Creative Industries Industrial Research Fellow within the team. So on the 7th of July, we've got an online event, which again is open to everyone. And then we're going to follow that up the week after with the Purposeful Business event, where we have a few guest speakers. Chris Hines, who's here at the conference over these 2 days, he's going to be talking together with Andy Snapes from Ward Williams Associates and Debbie Luffman from Finisterre. So a few local companies taking positive action. So again, that's an open invite to everyone. That's going to be online on Zoom. So look out for that on the website of how to sign up. So I'm just flagging that now. So just to sum up then, before I'll have a look at any of the questions in the chat, how we can support you through Low Carbon Devon. I've mentioned research collaborations, mentioned the internship program, the Devon Net Zero Innovation Grants, and this series of events and workshops. So if you want to get in touch, really keen to chat further. And I really just want to pose the question to you, really, what is your next step? I've highlighted a few different things this afternoon. So really the question from me to you is just to reflect, maybe to get in touch with me. I'm happy to have a conversation and chat further. And lastly, really, before I delve into some of those questions, is don't do this. I'm not a particularly fan of golf, but I don't have anything against people that play golf. But as you can see here in the foreground, there's some people playing golf and there's a huge fire going on in the background. So for me, I think part of what we need to do is to look up, to look around us, to actually feel the natural world, to find out what's going on around us. So this is actually a real image. It's not a Photoshop or anything. But also just take a walk, do whatever enables you to be the best you can be. Jump in the sea, go for a swim. We've spent quite a lot of time on the screen over these past few days. So I encourage you to think about anything that's come up, to think about what's made you curious over these few days, and also just to think about maybe what is the one thing that you're going to do differently next week, and how can you put that into action. So for me, it's about creating that world that we all want to live in. Do get in touch with me. Really keen to continue the conversation. Those are my details on the screen. I did notice some questions in the chat, so I can just quickly flick back to that. Hopefully I'm still not sharing. That's right. So do put some questions in the chat. I can just skim back through and see if there's any that I've missed. So we have got a mailing list. There's a question from Jude. If you're still there, Jude, yes, we have got a mailing list. You can get in touch with me and we can add you to that. That's the Sustainable Earth Institute mailing list. So happy to add you to that. What else have we got in there? There's a question about if you're an academic listening, can we connect you with a local enterprise? I think that's referring to. So can you offer your expertise? Yes, of course. If you don't know of a local industry expert, or if you want to be connected, that's what we're about. We're trying to facilitate that connection. So if you want to get in touch with me again, we can put the word out, we can have a chat, and I can see if that fits with any of the people I'm chatting to already, or we can put the call out and see if there's any interested local partners. So definitely yes, from that perspective. I'm just seeing, do let me know, Claire, if I've missed any questions. I'm just skimming through. So there's a question around future fit leadership, and just explaining a bit more around what future fit leadership is. Great question. That's what we're exploring. So I mentioned the Plymouth Compass framework. For me, it's a type of leadership which enables our students to be effective and active change makers. So it's mentioning those 4 areas that I showed you earlier about being a sustainable and global citizen, about being a resilient and thriving individual, a competent and confident professional, and a critical and creative learner. So it's really drawing in these competencies around, I mean, another way I like to sum it up is around the 5 C's or the 4 C's in terms of collaboration, courage, curiosity, connection, and compassion. See if I remember them all. So those types of things, it's this inclusive leadership that we can be future fit leaders, but we can be those today. That's what that future fit leadership is referring to. Hi, Claire.
Hello. Okay. So I've noticed a couple of questions as well. So one of the questions is, does the business in the collaboration need to provide funding as well for the grants?
Yes. My understanding is no.
Correct.
There'll be a little bit of delay. Sorry if I'm a bit behind. My understanding is no. That the grant there is to facilitate the academics time, but you might be able to provide some more details on that one.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the grants themselves, as Chris said, are to pay for the academics time, and there's no need for the business to put any funding into that. There is a requirement, obviously, to share with us the results of the investigation that is undertaken, but that's it. There's no funding requirement. Another question is, do you have to be a business to be part of this? So as Chris explained, the Low Carbon Devon project is about supporting Devon businesses. So the answer is yes to that one. And I think one has just come in around green walls, actually, from James Kay, which I don't think either of us can answer. But James, if you connected with Tom Murphy, our industrial research fellow around green walls, he can answer questions about green walls and their thermal efficiency.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I've seen that one come through, James. Yes, thermal efficient. Yeah, so that's exactly like Claire said, what our colleague Tom is looking into. Tom Murphy, he's the Green Walls Industrial Research Fellow at Low Carbon Devon. But the answer is yes, he's looking at the thermal efficiency of the green walls, and how that can facilitate a sort of greater insulation benefit. So you don't need to heat the buildings as much, but also the biodiversity and sort of air quality benefits of the green wall. So there's definitely one at the Sustainable Earth Institute, like I showed earlier. And there's one in Union Street. There's a big green wall there in Plymouth, but we're trying to grow that network. So if you'd like to have one on your building, we'd love to come and investigate that. So yeah, keen to chat with you further, James. Any other questions, Claire?
None that I found on the chat. So I think probably we could draw the workshop to a close, unless you've got any more points you want to make, Chris.
No, that's great. Yeah, thank you for everyone. And like I said, with regards to the internships, the Devon Net Zero Innovation Grants, do get in touch with us at sustainabilityhub@plymouth.ac.uk, or contact me directly. That's it's a bit of a mouthful, but it's christopher.woodfield@plymouth.ac.uk. But really keen to just continue the conversation, and also just want to say a big thank you to Tina again, and to Tristan, and to you, Claire. And hopefully, I know we've been given the sort of graveyard shift at the end of the conference, but hopefully that's been interesting, and enjoy the session at 4:00.
Thank you, Chris. And just a quick reminder, please keep putting your thoughts into the feed and also the discussion boards, which are still up, looking for everyone's input. Thank you very much. And thank you to Chris.
See ya.
Bye.